So I just want to take the time to welcome you guys back to Money Talk. Today is Monday, and the date is August 3rd. August 3rd today. Wow. Amazing, amazing. When did July over? Right? How did we get to August already? It was just January. Man. So guys, this week is going to be an incredible week because we have a lot to talk about. And the things that we have to talk about for this week, right? This week's theme is all about financial foundation, right? This week, we're going to break down what it means to have a financial foundation. We're going to talk about why you have certain things. We're going to talk about protection. We're going to talk about debt management. We're going to talk about emergency fund. We're going to talk about investments. We will have a great money talk this week, and we're going to break down a lot of these fundamentals today. We're going to talk about them. And as you know, as your host and your educator, my name is Keyon Corniffe, also known as Mr. Finance. And I will break this down. As you can see on your screen here, guys, we have all the information. If you ever want to just visually, you have those access where you just go on our Zoom, download the Zoom app, use our meeting ID. If you want to call in, you can always dial in. So if you have someone, a family member that's not really tech savvy, you're still wanting to give them access, tell them to dial in and call 646-568-7788 and just enter in our meeting ID 739-226-2726, and they'll have access to Money Talk as well. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time, and every day we have this money talk. All right. So guys, also, if you ever want to check us out, we're also available on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, SoundCloud, and definitely you can check us out on Instagram as well. And guys, we're everywhere, man. We're taking Money Talk globally. We're going to take it to a bigger and wider platform and, definitely empower many people. So let's get into today's topic. Today's topic is about protection, right? This is the key of our financial foundation. And the thing about a financial foundation, guys, it's like building a house, right? It's like building a house, and building a house require us to have a proper foundation. It has to be strong, right? So a solid financial foundation starts with a solid grounds. What is solid grounds when it comes to your finances? Solid grounds is actually putting together the proper protection. You got to put yourself in a position where you plan for the unexpected, right? You got to plan for the unexpected. What are we talking about? Things you can't predict what will happen to you. You cannot predict if you can't predict if you die, right? Let's talk about that. You can't predict when you have a health problems. Let's talk about the fact that we cannot predict as far as if you're going to have a disability. You cannot predict if your house burned down. You're going to predict if your apartment is going to flood. You cannot predict anything. So what must you have is the right protection in place to make sure that you and your family or anybody that depends on you is protected and won't be affected by that, right? And that's the reason why we got to always understand what it means to have proper protection. So proper protection is not just about life insurance, guys. I want you guys to really understand that proper protection is about having a series of things. And you got to then analyze, hey, do I have these things in place, right? You got to analyze and say, do I have these things in place? Am I good, right? Because I know that's the new thing nowadays where people will talk to us about things and we'll say, no, I'm good. And you may not be good, but you kind of might be okay, but you're not good, right? And it's important that we learn the difference between being good and being okay, all right? So let's talk about how can we get you to become good and what are some of the things that we must have. So let's plan for the thing that we cannot predict. We can't predict when we die, right? Let's talk about the elephant in the room because I know a lot of people don't like to talk about it. They may say that, oh, dying is such a negative topic. And it is true, but it's also a positive topic at the same time because it's the same thing where we hear the saying that everybody want to go to heaven, right? Everybody want to go to heaven, but nobody want to die. Right? So let's talk about it. death is not such a bad thing to talk about, guys, right? Because the reason why most people don't want to talk about dying is because they don't know what will happen to their families and their friends and their things when they die. They didn't put plans together. Like me, I don't worry about if I die. If I die, I die. Because I already put all the infrastructure in place to make sure that everybody around me would be good. You understand? So dying doesn't become a thing where you're afraid to talk about it. Like, dying is a part of life. But it's about, are you protected in the right way if it happens to you prematurely, right? So the thing that you got to understand is that you may live long, but you also might die young, right? But you got to know, are you planning for both of these events? Are you prepared? Are you properly protected if you live too long and if you die too soon? Do you have things in place to protect yourself, right? So the first thing is, let's talk about premature death. If you prematurely die, there's 4 things you need to make sure that you have in place. 4 things. Number 1, you must have life insurance. Number 2, you must have final expense insurance. And number 3, you make sure that you have a will. And number 4, you must have a trust. Now, you're probably wondering, why 4 things, Keyon? Wow, 4 things? Why so much? Now, the reason why you need 4 things, like I just mentioned, when you own life insurance, guys, I want you to remember me saying this to you. When you plan to own life insurance, please, don't you ever try to own life insurance because it's just for dying. No, 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 no. When you own life insurance, it's because you understand your die method. You know why you own this thing. You own life insurance because you did a calculation of your debt, your income times 10, your balance on your mortgage, and the educational planning for your children or grandchildren, and if you choose. These are the 4 reasons why you own life insurance. So if you would pass away, your surviving spouse or whoever the beneficiary is will pay off all your debts. Your income won't be missed for the next 10 years. And your mortgage will be paid off. So that way, if your surviving spouse or children will make sure that the house stays in the family. And then education planning will be in place for either your children or your grandchildren, right? So this is the reason why you own life insurance, okay? And that's why you can know how much you need. And it's important that you understand these calculations. You don't just own life insurance because you say, oh, I'm afraid of that. No, 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 no. You got to make sure that you own life insurance because you run the die method, okay? Now, why must you own a final expense? Now, a final expense insurance is an insurance that pays out within 48 hours of you passing. And it's very important for you to have this final expense, right? Now, a reason why you want to have final expense insurance in place is because the simple fact that, like I said, if you pass away within 48 hours, you want to make sure that your families have access to money. The difference between final expense insurance and life insurance is that life insurance does not pay out within that 48 hours if you pass it. Sometimes it takes quite a while for them to produce what is known as a death benefit, right, due to the nature of you passing. But a final expense pays out within 48 hours, which will then take, that's why it's called final expense insurance. It takes care of all the final expenses, funeral arrangements, right? And it's very important. There's a few companies that even provide concierge services where they even help to take care of funeral arrangements. They even provide a will prep with some of their concierge service, right? So guys, it's really important to make sure that you have that second element in place, because you want to make sure that your families have money right away. Because you know these funeral homes, they want their money right now, right? Sometimes they don't want to wait. So just keep that in mind, okay? Now, number 3, why must you need a will? Now, a will is not just about having a will, guys. A will is important to have because the fact that you need to make sure that you have all the things in writing. If you have young children, who's going to become their guardian if something happens to you, right? Who will take on guardianship? Another thing that's important is about who will make these final decisions for you if you become like unable to talk, like who's going to become your power of attorney, right? A health directive. Like, who will become this person that will make a decision? Do they reciprocate you, or if they're not? Do you have all these things in writing, right? If your children is 18 and older, you cannot make decisions for them if they become in a coma or something. You got to make sure that they have a will so that you can be listed as their power of attorney. Guys, these are so important, right? A will is so important. So just because you have a will doesn't mean that your family would not go through probate either, because that's another thing that a lot of people say, oh, I don't need a trust. Now, why is the trust important? It's because the trust is put in place. It's an infrastructure that is used to protect all your assets, so that way your family don't have to go through a probate session through court. So the will avoid your family by going through probate, okay? And that's the reason why you need a trust. So the trust is like to protect all your assets, just like a life insurance to protect your family from dealing with all your debts, your income being missed, your balance on your mortgage, and also the educational planning for your children. So I guess you could say the trust is like a life insurance for your assets. That's a great way to put it. Or you could even put it like it's creating a corporation, so that way you can protect all your assets, your valuable assets. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. All right. So this is what, it really all about, guys. And that's why it's important to plan for premature death. The next thing you got to plan for is for disability, right? Another thing you never know. What if you get older and you start become disabled? It's natural. It's natural if you're blessed and fortunate to live like past 100 or 80 or, God knows. Or God forbid you got in a car accident and you become disabled, right? So who would take care of you? Do you want to depend on your spouse? Like, what if your spouse is just as, got just as older as you and they can barely take care of themselves, much less to take care of you? Or do you want to become that burden to your children? Or do you feel that, because you take care of your children should take care of you? All right. Don't be one of those parents, please. All right. It's just one of the things that we really got to look at, We got to make sure that we put all the things in place for ourselves, right? And they always say, if you know better, you do better. So we make sure that we help families to understand that. You got to make sure you understand why long-term care plays a major role, right? Long-term care plays a very major role because it assists someone with money, right? Long-term care assists people with money, so that way they will have the money to then pay for that caretaker to come take care of them. Some people call them a CNA, right? If you ever know someone that's a CNA, that's what they do. They are the people that come in and help with living assistance. So that way, if someone needs help, someone needs care, someone needs assistance moving from their bed to another bed, or to bathe themselves, or to clothe themselves, or to feed themselves, they will need some form of long-term care, right? And that money will be able to take care of those expenses or provide money to give that person the care. All right. So it's important, guys. It really, really do. You know that the average person, they said that the average person age group wise that need long-term care is anywhere from 18 to 64 years old, right? From 18 to 64 years old. Think about that. Right? How many of you guys here are past 18, right? And we all know one day, if we're blessed and fortunate, we may live to see 64 or more. So are we prepared for that, right? Are we prepared for that? And it's very important that we plan for it, right? So the next thing you got to plan for is for your health problems, right? How about health problems? Do you have things in place for that? Do you know the difference between HMO and PPO, right? It's important that you understand that when you become 65 years old, why it's important to enroll into Medicare, right? And what are some of the things that we must have? We must make sure that we have understanding of the enrollment period, right? Because when you turn 65, there's pretty much 2 enrollment periods that you got to look at and really understand that when you turn 65, you have 3 months before 65 and 3 months after you turn 65 years old, right? And at that very moment, when you enroll, you got to also enroll in Part A and B first. And Part A is pretty much like the medical insurance for the hospital visits. And, it's free for most people. But then you also have Part B, which is the medical insurance for doctor visits and healthcare, and it provides and providers, and it's not free, guys. It's not free. It comes with a monthly premiums. And in 2014, that was around 104, and now it's actually a lot higher. All right. So after you enroll into Part A and B, all right, for all my folks that are 65 and older, you would then have access to Part C and D. So just to give an understanding, people say, well, what is Part C? Part C is like the HMO, right? Part C is the HMO in the Medicare terms, right? And then you have like Part A and B, which is like PPO, right? Or Part, right, is like PPO, where if you want to have access to, pretty much you could choose who you go to as a doctor, right? That is where you would then be able to have like PPO insurance, right? And that's what it means. PPO means you could choose whatever doctor, whatever hospital, whatever specialist you want to go to. And then HMO, you got to go with the network of who they're already working with, right? So that's also important to know as well, so that way you have a better understanding. So these are the things that we truly got to understand why we tell people to put together proper protection for the event of disability, health problems, or premature death. But proper protection doesn't stop there. All right, it doesn't stop there. We got to talk about, do you have proper protection on your home, right? Do you have proper protection on your home? You got to make sure that you have the right amount of coverage, right? Even after you pay off your mortgage, do you still have coverage on your home to make sure that if something ever, God forbid, ever happens to your home, you'll be able to rebuild that home, in case of a fire or earthquake, or, you just don't know, right? These are things that are unexpected. Mother Nature is crazy, right? You just don't know when she's happy, she's sad, or if she's kind of in between, right? So you got to make sure that your home is protected. How about renters? All my renters, right? If you're renting, guys, it's important that you have rentals insurance. You got to make sure that your apartment got rental insurance, because did you know that if your apartment burned down, right, and all your belongings that's inside of your apartment, that is not covered by your landlord's insurance? I hope you know that. That is not covered by your landlord insurance. You got to make sure that you have renter's insurance, so that way you could protect all of your valuable assets inside of your apartment. And that is so, so important, to make sure that you have these proper protection in place. Because the thing about it is that renter's insurance is so inexpensive. It is not even 20 bucks a month. Not even. Like, for most renter's insurance, it's like 10, 15 bucks a month, right? To be honest. And it's very, very easy, right? And it's not hard. It's not something hard. Like, it's better you have that protection. So I always encourage that. But also, what about your pets? Do you have proper protection on your pets too, right? Pet insurance is very important as well. And also, do you have proper protection on your businesses, right? What about your liability insurances, right? You got to make sure that you have liability. Like, did you know if you have a sign hanging out on your business, and if that sign falls and hits somebody, they could sue you? Did you know that if you have a business and someone walk inside of your business, slip and fall on the floor, they could sue you? Yeah. So you got to make sure that you have like liability insurance, and once again, insurance for business owners. Like, it's, at our office, we have that. So that way, like, if God forbid any one of our guests slipped and fall on the rug, or I don't know, the door slam on their arm and they want to take legal actions, we have insurance to protect us from that, right? Because nowadays, guys, we live in a world where everybody's sued for everything. So you got to make sure that you have these proper protection, right? So, it's just like your car insurance too. Do you have the right type of car insurance, auto insurance for your bike, your boat? All these things require proper protection. So this is why we help families, to make sure that they have proper protection, man. And that way they're really, really covered, and they're really, really great. And they have all the things in place. So this is how we help families to truly understand what it means to have proper protection. So at this moment, if you would love to share a feedback, or you would love to share your takeaway from today, I would love to hear from you guys. What are some of the things you learned about today? What is your big takeaway from today? If you'd like to share, you could literally, if you're calling in, for all my call-in folks that is calling in your phone right now, you can press *6. *6 if you'd like to share some feedback, or if you have any questions on today that we talk about. For all my folks that are on Zoom, you could either press yes or raise your hand button in the participant section to share your feedback and takeaway as well from today. So anybody would like to share any feedbacks, any takeaway? What did you think about this morning Money Talk? And just so you know, tomorrow we will be talking about debt management, and I even going to show you exactly how we educate families and help them to get rid of their debts with a simple debt roll-up program that we use to show you how to pay off your debts much faster, much easier, so that way you don't have to feel like, oh my God, I don't know how to pay off my debts. All right, but anybody have any questions, any comments, any feedbacks from this morning that they'd like to share? We'd like to hear from you, and what's your takeaway? So at this moment, the call is now open. For anyone who would like to share, you can just press the yes button or raise your hand. We'd like to hear from you. Anybody like to share? Let me see. All right. I hope I didn't hit you guys too hard this morning, huh? All right. So with that said, guys, I appreciate you guys for tuning in as always. Remember, tomorrow we will be talking about managing debt. So that way you guys will be able to come and learn more about managing debts, putting together your financial foundation more, and definitely listen and keep spreading the word. And let's talk about how we can continue winning and empowering ourselves. All right. So with that said, guys, let's all wish out and let's start the day. Happy Monday again. Tomorrow will be another great money talk. And let's go out there and change the world. So on the count of 3, let's all wish out. 1, 2, 3. Let's whoosh. Whoosh. World team, one team, one dream, one sister, one cause. Woo!
One cause.
Bless everybody.
Have a great day.